to Growing Up Christian and part 2 of our episode with Chris from Fireworks. Thank you guys for being patient with this particular episode layout this week. I won't waste too much time here, but again, if you enjoy the show, leave us a review wherever you listen to it and share it with friends. If you aren't in the Discord yet, you can find a link to that in our link tree on our Instagram bio. You should definitely join. It's a fun place. So, without further ado, here's the conclusion to our episode with Chris from Fireworks. What do you happen to remember any of the names of the retreats that you went to?
No.
Like, did you go to winter camp or something like that? Or
I don't. I remember one of them was actually really cool because it was like we went to the dunes, you know.
Oh, nice.
Up north, and that was cool. And then the other
like
one
Christian
we were
Burning Man.
Yeah, and the other one we did go to, it was in November. I remember that. And we were just kind of in some like naturey area, probably in like, it honestly may have even been around where you grew up, Casey, like sort of in that realm. Not too far away, you know what I mean? But like not too close to where we're from and kind of naturey. And that's all I really remember. I don't want to go back too far, but do you think we could do episode 2 of this? I could get some of those dads on and we could do a redemption for them. Like try to see if they could round 2 might work. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, they might
we
be.
We will round table this.
I'm up for it.
Round table. I'll come up with some great questions. Casey and I will moderate the discourse. Oh, this is perfect. I love this idea.
Man, that would be funny. They're like, who are you?
We forgot about you as soon as you were gone. And you don't know how this works, do you?
You never came back.
Did you ever? So did anything ever like bring you into it, or were you always like adjacent to that evangelical like megachurch?
Always very
world?
adjacent. Always very adjacent to it. My best friend Brett, who's actually in Fireworks as well. He honestly, like, I know this probably don't want to do 2 from the same, but like he would be a really good person for this because like he was the person, like some of the people I'm talking about who were kind of into this. Like they had him do confession and stuff. Like
nice.
I went to it as a friend, you know, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? You know, this is crazy. But like, no, it was always adjacent to me. And I think the true climax of this all was Cornerstone because because
Casey played Cornerstone.
Kate, what the fuck, Casey? What band?
It barely counts.
The Poison Written. We played those ones that were just like a Home Depot,
like the generator
and a PA stand. Yeah. It wasn't we weren't a main attraction.
Yeah,
I remember a band from Michigan playing called With Wings of Lead. How's that for a metalcore name?
That's so metalcore.
Boy. That is, dude. Well, I think I was completely like comfortable in the fact that I was not part of that and like was a non-believer. And then I think a lot of like clearly because they don't care. That's the thing I want to say is like some of my friends who were part of this were so fucking cool. Like they knew I wasn't into this shit, but they were like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like they were like, come hang out with us. You know, that's what it was like. Like they weren't actually trying to like convert me at all. And like, you know, one of my best friends to this day, I mean, Brett's not a believer anymore, but like one of my best friends to this day that was kind of all with that, totally not into religion, but like total Jesus Christian guy, like in a great way though, you know, it's like, it's awesome, you know, and like, but my point is even then, like no one cared. They swore and did dumb shit, you know, like it wasn't, but, since I was so confident in like not really being a part of this, I felt more open to like doing some of this stuff. Cause I was like, oh, I don't care about this shit, but like, I'll go to this like music festival where we're camping. So the first year we went, I mean, I will say that the Cornerstone experience was like, I went 2 years in a row, and I want to say it was truly one of the most like eye-opening, bizarre, just like I don't have enough words to really put into just how insane that festival is, and like especially seeing
what
it
years are we talking?
we're talking hold on, 60. I want to say it was like 2000. It was either 2002 and 2003 or 2003 and 2004.
Oh man, that's right in the cut.
Yeah, so to give you just a little synopsis, a little rundown, because there's too much to even go over.
I'm Googling the lineup of 2003 Cornerstone right now.
Well, I'll give you this. I remember
it was in North Carolina.
No, it's in Illinois somewhere, right?
All right,
like,
this has to be the wrong thing then.
Yeah, it was in Illinois somewhere. During that band Zayo, like the metalcore band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Still a good band.
Zayo was great. Actually, he's one of those people. Tell the Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No. No, it's just every time I hear the name, it rings a bell because it's like they've come up a million times. They have a long history of like being a Christian band, the ups and downs of that, and every time I hear it, I'm like, oh fuck! I just always forget to try to contact people from Zayo, but they're
they're
like quintessential
would be
Christian metalcore.
I think the singer would be a good one because like I don't think they are a Christian band anymore. Well,
no,
I could be way off. Oh, okay,
they're not. Okay. They fell off a little while back, but even they had the word "are they, aren't they" kind of thing for a while that really fucked some Christians up.
Right.
They probably had the longest previous member roster on Wikipedia.
It's unreal.
Yeah,
they have a fantastic DVD called was the DVD The Lesser Lights of Heaven DVD, or I know that was one of the songs on the Funeral of God, but they have they had like when bands still do DVDs? I don't think so.
I think they would just be YouTube videos now, right?
Yeah. All right, sorry man. Sorry, go.
No. This actually doesn't really have anything to do with Zayo. That's the best part. A girl had like a fake exorcism during their set. Like I'm not making this up. Like the crowd parted and like the band stopped playing. And she was like on the ground, like acting possessed, and like people. Not exorcism, possession. I'm sorry, no one exercised her. She faked like a
giant failure on the Christian part.
True, I never thought about it that way, but true. Like she faked. I mean, I'm gonna say faked, and I think everyone here would agree, and most listeners would agree. She was like acting like she was possessed during their set, and I would love to be able to say like, poor girl actually had like a fucking seizure or something, but no, she was like, rah, like yelling and stuff, and people were like terrified, and they were like praying and stuff, and I was like, wait, you guys think this is real? Like, holy shit! And then I remember it was like people were buzzing about it like the next day and later on that like this girl was possessed and had this weird possessed episode, and then we like saw her at like Meijer, like when we were like getting supplies, like walking around and stuff, and I was like, yo, these people are insane. And that's my first part. My second part is it's where I truly learned about like the pro-life side of like that world. Like something I just never really thought about because I was young, I don't really think about that shit ever. And then I just kept seeing like fetus images and like stuff like that. I'm like, what the fuck is this about? And then I was like, oh, okay. Like this is like and obviously I got a little more educated myself. And I was like, okay, like I'm starting to understand this. But like, yeah, it's kind of, I talked about this with Ian a little bit, who did our interview on Stereo Gum, because his I'm sorry, I don't know if it's his girlfriend or his wife, but she was a part of like the evangelical church and like a big Cornerstone goer, and like she's a photographer and stuff now, I think he said, but like something like that. But anyway, he was just saying how like she talks about what I'm about to say a lot, which is like this like the weird ass like crust punk crossover too into like Christianity. Like there's like a crust punk scene at Cornerstone, and like it was just so mind-boggling to me because I was like, how does this happen? You know what I mean? Like how are there people who believe in this stuff and they're crust punks too? Like I don't I don't know. So like my point is like Cornerstone was like in a weird way, like I already was like this shit is crazy. It was definitely like the final nail in the coffin of terms of like I don't know what the hell this is all about. I don't get it. I don't get how radical these people are, how passionate they are. I just don't understand it. You know what I mean? Like it was all very wild to me.
So did they have like a pro-life booth set up or something like that, or
I
Rock
think
for life.
so. I couldn't tell you. All I do know is that like a friend that went's girlfriend, I remember like bought a sticker and like had it on her car, and I'd always be so fucking embarrassed driving in that car. Because like if we ever did anything and I ended up in her car, I'd be like, oh no. It didn't stay. It didn't last very long, I don't think, on her car. But you know,
We Rock for Life was one of the big like vendors for like apparel with anti-abortion shit on it, and a friend of mine had a hoodie that was like "She's a child, not a choice," and then I, with no nuance at all, had giant block letters, "Abortion is homicide," and I still cringe when I think about that time in my life.
it's pretty courageous
Yeah,
of you.
well, when I was in a
very brave.
I felt brave because I was just in a local metalcore band in high school, and we
Who
played.
wasn't?
Yeah, right. So I don't know if you guys ever coming through this area. You might have hit the Worcester Palladium before. Does that sound
Yeah,
familiar?
we actually just played there in October.
Yeah, and I was actually, not to go off on this, fucking bummed because I was trying to go. You were there with the Wonder Years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I was trying to get to that show, but my friend decided to get fucking married in Virginia. What an asshole!
How
so
selfish can you
I know.
be?
And then you guys were in DC the day before I think it was the day before his wedding. So I was like, well, maybe I'll just fly to DC, rent a car, like go to that show, rent a car, and then drive to Virginia after that. And we were trying to meet up in DC, and none of it worked out. I was major bummed that my friend ruined my ability to experience that tour. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Good going, friend.
fuck you, Jacob.
Good.
We'll put that out there. But so the Palladium once a year, they used to, I think back when everyone was in metalcore bands, like maybe there's not so many these days, but it was like one of those like bullshit battle of the bands kind of things. And I wore my abortion is homicide shirt that night, and it was weird.
Were you victorious?
No, I mean, so the one thing I remember is feeling kind of embarrassed, but feeling like I was really standing up for my faith, and then someone yelling "abortion rules" from the audience. That's
So you won no earthly rewards that night, but
no.
heavenly rewards maybe.
That might have been like what kickstarted my friends being like, "I don't know if this is a good fit for you, man."
Why was it small? Like too tight on you? Stupid.
It was tight as fuck, dude. Because
Well, it had to be at the time, right?
at the time,
metalcore band, yeah.
It had to be short enough to show my studded belt with my Zayo belt buckle. Bring it back to Zayo for a second. I did have a cool Zayo belt buckle, and of course my skinny jeans. So
right,
you had to have like part of your gooch sticking out of your jeans. They had to be that low and that tight.
It's like the mantle toe, I think is what it is when you.
So what you're saying was the Palladium was your pulpit that night.
It was that night, and nobody got saved.
I remember having like one of those moments though where you're like, it was later on, it was after college, and there was like a big metalcore festival thing at like, it was called Bloodfest. I don't know if you ever went to that, but it was in Heartland, Michigan. And
we played one year.
Oh, there we go. Maybe it was one of the years that I went.
I think Fireworks played like one of the last years. It was like 2014 maybe or something like that.
Oh, that might have very well been there or something. But I remember like For Today played, and if anybody
I know what you're getting at.
So the guy would like, he was a big guy with dreads, and he would like preach a full-fledged sermon from the stage. And I wasn't like a huge fan of them anyways, and like that was really uncomfortable. And I don't know, but I remember like this guy, somebody had like pushed a kid, that typical like metalcore pit drama where like somebody pushes somebody and they get in their face and then nobody ever does anything. They just kind of like scream at each other and then they go to their sides, right?
Fight dance to see who the winner is.
Yeah. And I remember like the singer like stopping things and being like, guys, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to spread positivity. And then he went into this whole big long deal that was like a salvation message sort of thing. And I remember I was standing behind this kid who was like tall, skinny kid, swoopy hair and stuff. And I could see he was texting and I could see on his phone, he was saying, God is here in this room right now, bro. I was too far out at that point. I'm just like, oh, God. Why? I shouldn't be here anymore.
God is in this room right now, bro. The recipient was like, Pastor Dan.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh, yeah. So, like, unfortunately, like, I don't know. I'm sure you guys don't have rules on this podcast, but yeah, I just unfortunately was never like part of it. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely was on the sidelines though and had my own perspective of it all. But yeah, man, this kind of stuff is like some of my favorite though to talk about because I just think it's like so funny and just so weird and just awesome. And
it's always interesting to hear like somebody who was on the sidelines of this stuff, who was like the kid that was getting invited, and stuff like that. Because especially in your situation, because I don't know if there's a thing kind of happening over the past, I don't know, however many years of people who have come out of that evangelical setting and they're not like, they're still looking for some form of spirituality and they end up in like Orthodox churches a lot. Like there's a big movement of those kids like, kind of moving into that. And it's weird because there's, I guess in your mind, you group them together in a way because it's Christianity or whatever, but there's a real like split between like evangelicalism, which I don't know. I guess like the appeal is meant to be like this personal relationship with Jesus. And it's all like this, it's supposed to be this big emotional experience that you feel at all times. And like, that was, everybody, including us, that talks about that. Like there was points in your life where you felt like guilty or like an imposter because you weren't having these big emotions and feelings and stuff about what was happening around you. And it seemed like everybody else was. And evangelicalism kind of like prioritized that and sort of like belittled the like the traditions and the God, what am I saying? The ceremonial side of religion, traditional religion, they really like belittled all of that. And I think like it's interesting how people who come out of that environment seem to like have an appreciation for those things now. Like, man, what was missing was like ceremony and traditions and like these things that are almost more like meditation rather than some sort of like forced march salvation prayer and stuff. And
yeah,
I don't know. It's that's
a really interesting way to put it. Like my friend, one of my best friends, he's still a Christian, the one I referenced before. But it's odd you say that because me and him are both very into like weird religious imagery and like stuff like that, like of the past and more traditional. So yeah, you might be onto something there. Like it's I don't know. I always like find myself like liking the icons, like the religious. I don't have one in my office, but like the old Orthodox religious icons and stuff like that. And like that's a really. I actually work. I work for a company now. I won't say the name, but I work off air. I will. I work for a company now that does like Buddhist type meditative, like meditation and stuff like that. Like they're in that world, to an extent, I should say, not strictly, but it is interesting to like when I would talk to some people, like it is interesting how many came from Christianity. Like it was
Interesting.
so
Yeah.
eye-opening. Like, I felt like so many, like, when they would just kind of like talk about themselves or like, whatever, it just felt like so many people would be like, mention how like, yeah, like I grew up Christian, or like I, whatever, and this makes more sense to me now. And it's like they were still needing that void filled, kind of, what I mean, like they still
Yeah.
needed it, but they found it in like a more spiritual, more personal, more accepting, I guess, also inclusive type environment. So I think there's definitely something to that. I agree with you. Like, I think um that's it's like I went and got I was one time waiting to get for Thai food to be done, and there was like a bunch of people waiting, and this guy was like, "Oh, so you live around here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I order Thai food from around here." But yeah, I was like, "Yeah," like, he's like, "Oh yeah, my wife and I we just moved here and blah blah." So he's just like making small talk with me, and I just was like kind of starting to get this vibe, because I was like, I don't know many people who talk this way. Like, I'm fine with small talk, but like some of the questions and stuff, And then he was like, "Oh, so you're in?" He asked me what I did for a living and stuff. He's like, "Oh, okay, so you do like digital marketing stuff and ads and stuff like that?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." And he's like, "Do you mind if I ask you a question? Like, just pick your brain a little bit, like personally and professionally?" And I was like, "Sure. Like, what's up?" And he's like, "Well, the reason I moved here is I'm a church director at like a fairly large local church. Again, if mega church is here, they might be like here, you know what I mean?" And he's like, "I'm just being honest with you. It's my job to try to get people like your age and their families to like come to church. Like, and one of my main ideas is like, I think like, we need to do away with like the morning mass. Like, who wants to go to church so early? Like that whole kind of like,
Oh my
think outside
god.
the box take." And like, I just like was like, I just think like it's different now. I just don't think, like he seemed like a nice guy, so I feel bad, but like, I just don't think that will be that way ever again. Like the way he's picturing in his head. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think it's the time of church. I don't think it's coffee shops inside the church. You know what I mean? I think it's more than that. And I think like a lot of things that people align with Christianity with now, and especially like evangelicalism, is like not good, and I think like even if maybe they grew up that way, they are almost maybe ashamed in a weird way, or don't want like people to know. I didn't go that deep with him, because like, whatever, but like I thought that was really interesting, because this was only like 2 years ago, and like not maybe if that. I just thought it was really interesting that this guy was like nice guy, like seemed smart, but like was just like probably tasked with this impossible duty of just like, you gotta raise our
Yeah.
members by this much. And like, I mean, the dude is sitting there thinking about changing like the time of when church is, like
He
thinking
basically
like that
like
will.
he watched like a YouTube video about a Google Office space, and he's like, "What if we did away with the pews and we had medicine
Yeah.
balls and we got a kombucha bar? You get your booch on, And I mean, hey, what if we catered in sushi once a month or something like that? Like,
Yeah,
you can just
it's
report into church when you feel like it. You kind of work your own hours, sort of thing.
yeah,
It is funny how
absolutely
like
is.
that guy, like, okay, so I had a similar situation this past weekend. April and I are in this store, and this guy is like a younger guy. He came up and just started like making conversation with us out of the blue. He asked about restaurants locally. And it's funny how, like, at this point in your life, you're like, is he about to witness to me? Or is he about to, like, try to sell me Advocare? He's like, he's either going to be like, hey, man, do you know where you're going when you die? Or it's going to be like, have you ever dreamed of owning your own business?
Oh,
It's
you're
one or
100%
the
right.
other scam.
It's all about the tone, though. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like not nor you could tell there's a point to it. Like you could tell there's like a being around the bush end game, the way they're like wording things. You're like, I was like, oh, I fucking know it's coming from this guy. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's not what I expected. That was Oh man, but yeah, I guess my point in that is like it's just like interesting to me to see. I don't know the stats or anything, but like much like corporations and stuff, it almost seems like if you want to call mega churches like the corporations, like they're probably growing, and these smaller churches, even though they're not small, are probably like, holy shit, how are we supposed to get people to come here? You know what I mean? Like we can't
Competing with
compete.
Amazon.
Yeah, we can't compete with like the big beautiful church that has like the Christmas plays where the angels fly. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, like what are we supposed to do? Which is a real thing that happens at a church around me. Like that is real. Like a church.
I used to go to the Christmas pageant at Thomas Road Baptist Church in Lynchburg. That's the one that's adjacent to Liberty University, and their Christmas show, they went off. And I remember sitting there even then being like, this feels excessive for a story where they overly emphasize a poor family where Jesus was born in a lowly manger. Like, it just feels like very excessive.
The smoke billows out from under the manger, and there's like ominous music, and then baby Jesus pops up with one of those two-headed guitars and just like shreds 80s style for a couple of minutes.
I think the best Christmas story, that I saw in a church was when like a woman actually gave birth live and Joseph cut the umbilical cord and they held up the baby Jesus. That was unbelievable.
Is that real?
Immersive.
No.
Oh my God. I was going to say, how did I not hear about this? God, that is incredible.
It was a 9-hour program. It was next level authenticity. Everyone was weeping.
There was that video that went around this year, like Christian Nightmares shared it and stuff, but it was like the people on the hooks. They're like drummers, I think, and they're like flying across the ceiling of the church in this big auditorium, and they're drumming. And so when you said that was you had one of those near you, I was thinking like, oh man, is that the Instagram Christmas show? I wonder.
No, this is Northridge Church. It's like I think it's Plymouth, Michigan. It's right off M14, and it's like insanely large. I don't really know anything else about them besides like they do all the classic modern day like evangelical church shit, and like their Christmas performance, like people who aren't even involved whatsoever will go because they're like, it's unbelievable. And like
I remember the church you're talking about.
I remember the angels flying was a big selling point for a lot of people, and a friend of mine, she does like the aerial performance stuff, like
with the
with like the ties
sash.
And, and they hired like her whole unit, squad, whatever team to do some sort of warm up or part of the show, like flying on these things, and like, man, it's like, yeah. I don't think they do the drum thing, but they definitely do some crazy stuff like that. So
I've definitely driven by that church. I don't know that I've ever been in, but I remember people talking about it and stuff. There was one in Brighton that was like really, it was just getting bigger and bigger that I went to with my family for a little while. 242.
Oh damn, dude. 242.
I know, just a number, right?
Wow.
That's a church. 242.
242. Yeah.
They're not messing with angel numbers, are
they? Maybe. It's a whole numerology thing that actually means like Satan imbues me or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
I could imagine that area is like crazy. Like, I mean, like not crazy, but I would imagine a church like that in that area would do like insanely well. I mean, like probably so many people.
It's really like the perfect environment for them.
Right.
I don't know. It's just it's a thing that appeals to a different group of people. It just, I think like our generation, by and large, just doesn't love that stuff. And maybe it's because our parents loved it so much, you know, maybe that's why we don't really like it, because it seems fake and whatnot, you know, because I know like our parents' generation really didn't want to go to a church where you just stand, stock straight and sing out of a hymnal, you know, and I don't know, turn around and greet your neighbor.
I often wonder if like there's also an element of like we're in a society where like everything now, like let's say marketing wise, needs to be authentic, right? Like they like everything is like to your point, Casey, like like I remember reading something where a CEO was like, you no longer a CEO of a business, you're also like essentially like a humanitarian who has to like explain how they're going to save the world, you know, like being green and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like, and then like, you know, you probably see like, I'm trying to come up with an example right now, but like, you know, like
It started with
I don't know,
Tom's.
like you could take like Noxzema for instance, and like Noxzema probably used to just say Noxzema, but I noticed the other day it says like with fresh natural eucalyptus. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like everything is like
Yeah.
or like very natural, and not just with product. I think also with like work environments and stuff like that. So there
Yeah.
might also just be an element where like as annoying as that stuff could be and fake as that stuff could be in the ironic way, there also just might be an element where it's like you can't do that with like an evangelical church anymore, or a lot of churches. So like everything does seem fake because like in a weird way it is fake, like to people. Like I mean to people who are
That's a
there it
good
might
point.
not be fake, but like oh okay, well this sense of community, it's not real, you just want me to join the church, you know what I mean? Like oh well, this cool coffee shop thing, oh I say that because we mentioned that in the song, but like oh no, well it's only there because you want me to be part of the church. Like everything is almost like this like mirage that's like, and I think maybe some people are like now getting too wise to the point where they're like, that's no, this isn't real. Like you just want to use me for this. And you know, like I'd rather, to your point, get into more ceremonial traditional stuff, or I'd rather get into like yoga and meditation, you know what I mean? Like, or influencers, you know, I know a lot of people say like influencers are like literally the new gods, like actually. So like, you know, the new
The
faith.
Church
You
of
want to
Tate.
mimic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
It's
what
like-
it's made me super. Maybe I'm cynical, anyways, but like all of this, like like constantly being sold uh authenticity at every turn. It just made me feel very cynical about everything.
Coming
Like,
from a guy who's a salesperson for a living, I love it.
yeah, well, and I mean, yeah, that's dude. I feel like part of it. So the thing that I run into all the time is whether it's like in a general sense or in like my specific like automotive realm,
Yeah.
uh, like motivational speakers and consultants. I run into them all the time, and I hate them. I hate them, and I just like I've seen so many now. Like I don't buy it anymore. Like at the company advertising stuff, like the constant like trying to sell you this idea that like they're out to help people around the world and stuff. And it's like, I wish you would just make a good product that I can buy and you would
Yeah.
leave me alone. I don't want to hear like your mission statement. I don't want to hear how you're like cheating the carbon credit situation. Like just make a product that's decent, that comes from a good place, and sell it to me, and I will either like it and buy more or I won't. But like
Right.
stop this nonsense.
Yeah, it has to be wrapped up in this. Like, yeah, I mean, there's how many people are also like, you know, oh, what do you do for a living? And they're like, oh, I'm like a life coach, or I'm like a, you know,
Kill me.
I'm a consultant. Like I always say, like people who do that are like, you're just actually someone who has the fucking balls to be like, I'm going to tell a business that I can like go stand in front of them and essentially tell them how to operate. Like,
Yeah.
I just
Dude,
have
you are
the, I just
100% right.
like I just have the confidence to be able to do that. I'm not actually qualified by any means, but they want this, and I just happen to be one of the people who have the guts to say that's what I do. So I'm just gonna go do it because it's like I can't. I help people see like the real them, or oh I help businesses. Oh how like the you know with their team and strategy, and it's just like all these buzzwords.
Yeah.
Where you're like
Yeah. All the buzzwords.
like yeah.
Dude, the company that I was working at before I moved into working at a school,
Before
which
he
was-
started doing that to children.
yeah, which was life sucking. So I was in corporate retail, and I was just miserable. I hated every second of it. But the company I was working for hired a consultant to help us figure out how to get our supply chain like on the up and up. And I don't know what you guys know about Bed Bath and Beyond, but they're not doing great. And this guy came from Bed Bath and Beyond after they did a whole restructure and let go of everybody. So it's like you were in charge of a failing business on the supply chain end, and then they were bought and restructured, and all of these people were like forced out. And now you're a consultant telling people how to run their supply chain. And he obviously must know something, but I'm like, I also know he was making my salary every like 12 weeks, and you're just like just being on just so we could have like a couple of conference calls a week with people, and you're just like, that's what you're talking. I mean, he sold the shit out of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Like what the improvements we made based on the info, like he would come in, talk to everyone and be like, this is what you need to do, and then we would all have that conversation and be like, we can't do that yet. Now this, I mean, we could maybe work towards it, but also not really. And then the changes we made were essentially none of them, and he still made a lot of money every time he picked up the phone. And you're just like, that's it. I mean, it's a
what he
bomb ass job,
sells
but like,
and what those people sell is not like, hey, I'm going to bring in like fundamental principles. Yeah, yes. I'm going to bring in some like fundamental principles, and we're just going to like fix the small processes that are causing a lot of your things to go wrong. Like that doesn't sell. Nobody's going to pay you $3,500 a day to show up and do those little things, right? What they need to hear is you turn over. I know you don't know what to do with your business that's falling apart. All you got to do is turn over the keys to me. That's all you got to do. And I'm going to fix it. Don't you even worry about it. Hey, you don't even need to watch the books, right? I'll just take care of it. And then, they like squeeze them for as long as they can, and nothing really changes. And eventually they cancel their service and they move on to the next one.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get your money back. I mean, it's kind of is what it's like. It reminds me of a friend of mine, like when we were young, was like, dude, you got to hear this. I saw this thing on like back when Craigslist really took off, like really was starting out. He's like, I saw one of those like make X amount of dollars a week from home things. But instead of it being like make $1,500 a week, make $1,000 a week, it was like make $300 a week. And he was like, that actually seems kind of believable. Yeah. So he messages the guy, and the guy's like, oh, hey, so like, do you want to make the $300 a week? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, whatever. Like, what is the job? He's like, all right, well, the cool thing is it's working from like your house type thing. Like, that's why it's from home. So all you have to do is you just send me $10 and, like, I'll send you the course and everything you need to do to make the money. And my friend was like, okay. He's like, you know what? Guy seems normal. Like $10 is not that much to lose. He seems like he's a legit dude. He's like, fuck it. I'll just say to him. So he sends him the $10. The guy's like, all right, cool. Like, here you go. And sends like a document or something. And my friend opens up the document and was like, oh my God. And it essentially was like, so this is it. Like, this is what it is.
You do this to other people.
Yeah, like you do this.
Gotcha.
And some of the things that were in there were like tips, like don't put the money too high because people are going to think you're another scammer. You know what I mean? Like keep the money somewhat reasonable. Like show people that you're like kind of smart, actually. Like show people that you're like a real person because like they're giving you such little money that like worst case scenario, if they get really, really angry, you can just refund them like whatever amount you set. Like you can refund them the $5 or $10. They won't care. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't hurt you. And my friend was actually like, this is actually kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if he ever did it, but he's like, this is actually like a very like reasonable way to do this. Like, I mean,
it's a down to earth scam.
Yeah, like I only spent like $5 to $10. Like these are some good tips. Like I feel like if someone else opened this, they would be like, okay, like I didn't lose much money doing this. Like, I get the point. He just made $10. Like, if you got 20 people a week, that's pretty good. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's what that kind of stuff reminds me of. Just like,
It's so
okay,
funny.
just pay the money and just like get what you want people to think it is, and like you're good. Like, they'll take you seriously.
I would love to see an audience poll of like how many people listening had a mom that responded to one of those ads to be a secret shopper. That was
My-
like the
My
internet
in-laws were
scam
secret
for a while.
shoppers. My in-laws were secret shoppers, and they ate at Friendly's for free frequently before they discontinued
There
the
you go.
program.
But
Wow.
did you ever? I don't know if it's nationwide, but Casey, did you ever fall for like Cutco knives?
I fucking sold
Oh, yeah.
Cutco knives. I did.
Yeah, so you did fall for it.
I have a Cutco knife. I used it to chop up some deer this weekend.
They're actually good knives.
They
Yeah.
are. I still have the set that I sold when I had to buy the set when I was like 17 and doing this, and I still have it, and I still use it, and the knives are still sharp.
That's
And
a good scam right
Did
there.
you ever sell to anyone that wasn't your family?
I did. I managed to.
So you actually
do
you
okay
made
with
it. You made it.
Church was very helpful for that. And then
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
once you're in their house, they're like, "Well, I'm gonna have to see this bitch for the next rest of my life on Sunday, so I guess I'll buy a knife."
I want to
What
see maybe you guys can host it. Like, I want to see like a Venn diagram of like evangelical Christian kids and Cutco, not like pyramid schemes. I mean, 'cause, like, I hate to say it, but you know what I mean. If you're gonna fall for one, you'll probably fall for the other. So like,
Yeah.
you know, like
Cutco knives and Kirby vacuums.
dude, the vacuums. I remember. Oh my god, I remember the vacuums. I fell for one that was like, and I knew a few other. This one was genius. Also, I knew few other people who fell for it. It was like, it was described. It was on Craigslist, and it was like art dealer management or something, some buzzwords where you're like, when you're like some creative teenager, you're like, oh, it was like art dealer, like assistant, something like that. And the description was essentially like, yeah, so like I own a gallery that sells art, and you don't have to do any sales, like, or no, like it was like your job would be to like help with the gallery, just shit where you're like, that actually sounds fucking cool for like a 16, 17-year-old. Like, that's a sweet gig, like be around this art and you're like at a gallery and stuff. Like, this is sweet. So I answered the ad, and the guy was like, I wish you could see where I am right now, but my office is in like a research park type place, you know? So this guy was like, hey, yeah, like, awesome. Like, so like, you know, I saw like your resume and stuff. Seems like a good fit. Like, which is always kind of a red light when you're like, oh, I don't even have to interview. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, why don't you like meet me here, and we'll you know, see how it goes. Like, we'll do like so I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So he gives me the address, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of a weird place for like a gallery, you know, like the city he mentioned in the listing was like, had like a little downtown area. So I just assumed it would be there. And I pulled up to this like kind of industrial type area, like where there's a lot of offices and stuff. And it was at like a Wendy's or McDonald's parking lot, like where I met him. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So the dude seems totally harmless. And I was like, I could, you know, I was like, I could probably
Until he opened his trench coat.
Yeah, no, seriously, I'm not kidding. I was like, I could probably like beat this guy up if I had to. You know what I mean? Like, if it really came down to it, and unless he had a weapon or something, you know, I feel safe enough. But like, he seemed fine, and he's like, cool, man, like, nice to meet you, and whatever, and probably like in his 30s or something. So I'm like, sweet. And he's like, all right, so we'll ride in my car. And I'm like, oh, I was like, are we going somewhere? He's like, oh, we have, like, remember how I said we sell the art? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, we have to like drop some off, like said some shit like that, or deal some or whatever. All right, cool. Turns out what this job was another pyramid scheme where, you know, when you go into like a dentist or doctor's office or any kind of office, and like, since Casey and I are both from Michigan, like, you go in there and there'll be like a Red Wings like Joe Louis Arena framed picture, or like
God, that was the
I
art.
guess, yeah, you know, just like city stuff, and then there'd be like very like generic like waterfalls and shit, like stock images of like either like local sports, nature, like shit like that. And you're going into these businesses blind, and you're like, hey, so like in the big portfolio zip ups, like, so I have some art here for sale if you guys would like to like put it on the wall, like here we have this, and like we went to like
A
5
painting
places
of fruit.
yeah, and literally everyone was like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? They were like, so basically what I found out was like this guy does that under some fucking parent company or pyramid scheme, and he then hires like younger other people to like he probably do the sales and he'll take money. You know what I mean? Like he's setting up like his own little he's continuing the pyramid by like hiring probably like a few people to like go around, and if he gets a few sales, he's like, sweet, so here's your money and here's what I get to keep from like all these people. And I was just like, what a fucking sham, dude. This is I actually was like, that's actually kind of amazing though, because I bit, you know what I mean? Like, fuck.
Yeah. Well, he bought all that art at a wholesale price.
What's that?
Yeah. I feel like that's like Motel 6 art. It's like you go into the Hampton Inn and they have like the painting of like grass on the wall, and you're like, yeah, how many of these did they print up?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a Massachusetts equivalent, like I don't know, maybe like the Boston Commons or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
would be like
any picture of Boston or Fenway Park or
just like a man
Park,
with the face of a rat eating a lobster roll and getting it on his shirt.
That too. It's definitely like
just like the shit
tea.
You see at like dentist's office, like on the wall, where it's just like, oh, that's a picture of
oh my god,
a park that exists. Like that's cool. You know what I mean? Like
it's like a short, emaciated man in a stocking cap shouting racial slurs.
Yeah,
it just says Boston underneath it.
It's like just highlighting adults who cannot control themselves at sporting events.
Yeah, guaranteed. After every big sporting event, there will be multiple flips. It's just a bunch of people in Boston hats standing around a flipped car,
just admiring their work.
Yeah.
Oh man. God. But yeah, I guess this is to combine the two ideas. All that stuff to me somehow all goes together with this combo. I don't know why. Like it's all in the same weird realm of like selling something weird, and it like just masses buying in and just fucking, I don't know, it's mind-boggling to me. But
well, apparently all the despite being adjacent to all that culture, the evangelical Christian culture, it had a big enough impact on you to seep into on you guys to seep into the lyrics of the new Fireworks album a pretty good bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to sum that up, I think it's just like it is wild how much influence. We didn't really touch on the influence part, but I think it goes without saying now, like how much influence that actually all has. And I don't really care to explain many like song meanings and lyrics, because like I think that's up for interpretation. But the first song, the title actually alludes to my wife is a nurse in, as you probably know, a lot of healthcare systems are Catholic or Christian healthcare systems, and like our insurance wouldn't cover any like birth control or like reproductive right type thing. I just thought that was like mind-boggling, because it's just like, man, we're not even taking part in this. You know what I mean? Like this is like not. It's just not fair. You know what I mean? Like it's just like we're not like members of a church or something that are letting us live in like an apartment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you know what I mean? Like it's like that kind of stuff is like is that influence is so scary. And I know we've laughed a lot about it, but like the political implications and influence it holds over people is just very, I think, actually terrifying. Like I mean, that's just how people vote. That's how people make decisions on the members of their family. That's they make decisions on who they surround themselves in is like not necessarily even from like Jesus or a Bible. It's whoever is chosen by air quotes people, just to represent the church that they go to and like their personal ideals and how they can personal gain and church gain, and that those kind of ideals that they're spreading are like truly like probably ruining a lot of lives, and there's nothing I don't think those people can be saved from it, unfortunately. I just don't think it's possible. I think they're too far gone,
I like to think of, to put a hopeful spin on it, like I like to think of your relationship with Christianity as almost kind of like a rom-com thing where the church is Ryan Reynolds and you're Sandra Bullock, and like you kind of hate each other right now, but eventually you'll hump.
Yeah.
I mean, you think I'm eventually like 35, like I haven't, it's maybe like 45. I'll die.
Yeah, I think one day you'll
when your
be
kid
playing
first smokes
like
marijuana for the first time.
you'll be incorporating fireworks riffs into like praise and worship songs on stage at a mega church somewhere.
Oh, that was also very appealing, though. I was like, dude, pretty cool if they like play music at the church. You know what I mean? Like,
incidentally, it pays better than being in a touring band, so it would have been probably pretty good too.
It's like, dude, they use like electric guitars and pedals and shit, dude. Like they're not messing around.
They got one of those drum kits that's just a bunch of like rubber plates.
Yeah, and they also
but they still have the drum shield set up.
I was gonna say they have the drum shields. Drum shields are a church. It's amazing. They all have the fucking drum shields.
Oh my god,
that's incredible.
Well, this has been we've been keeping you going for a long time, man, but this has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much, dude, for hanging out with us for the past couple hours. We've let time go by on this one.
Fun. Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. Like I said, never done a podcast before, so it was a funny first one to do.
I think that's crazy.
Some
no
shit.
podcast before. I guess when podcast kind of blew up in your during your hiatus, I guess.
Yeah, but also like anything, not saying we'd be interesting enough to have on podcasts, but like I think it would all just be like talking about the band and music, and like that's who wants to talk about that?
Yeah. It's always awkward for the people in it. They're like, yeah, I mean, I guess this who would want to?
Well, I mean,
that?
some people fucking love it. Obviously, like they just,
guess so.
They're obsessed with talking about themselves. But like, man, I don't know what else are you gonna say. Like
even asking questions about it feels like when I listen to interviews where people ask questions and they're like, "So what does that mean?" You're like, you have to feel like an idiot asking that question. Like I feel weird. I feel like I sound dumb, or that the person I'm talking to thinks I sound dumb, which makes me self-conscious when I ask questions that try to sound too introspective about the music that somebody else fucking wrote. It's like, I prefer that. So that's why we do this. That's why we hit it from the side.
I mean, this is cool because it's like a different look into, just something else that might relate to the music in a weird way. You know what I mean? Like, I think, like, I don't know if you guys like Pedro the Lion or Dave Bazan or any of that stuff, but I think like him talking about like Christianity and stuff is more interesting than ever hearing him talk about like his music, because that's what you listen to and enjoy, like, you know what I mean? So it's cool. Oh, actually, just a little sidebar. He played Cornerstone.
Yes.
And that was actually fucking sweet because he was like swearing and stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. And then like, obviously like a couple years later, he's like, oh, I'm not Christian anymore. I'm not Christian anymore. So you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I guess he was probably falling out pretty hard at that point. So.
Every youth pastor that was there is like, I knew it. I told you.
Told you not to trust this guy.
Well, where can people find your music?
Everywhere, anywhere your algorithms are built for you. Spotify.
This is another really stupid question nowadays.
Bandcamp. If you don't, I always do like to say though, everywhere like that, if you don't have streaming or access to streaming, or you share on like a family plan, you can't listen to it, whatever. you can download the album for like name your price on Bandcamp. So
Oh, wow.
that price
cool.
could be $0 is what I'm saying. If you want to download for free, that's cool. That's fine. Download it. But yeah,
fully resigned to the fact that people don't pay for music anymore.
Yeah.
I love it.
Need a penny?
Also,
Take a
like,
penny.
you know what? If you at this point, like, yeah, if you don't have Spotify or Apple Music or any of that stuff, and like, I think almost like you deserve to get a free download. You know what I mean? Like,
There you go.
Who cares?
Well, the new album's fucking amazing. As soon as I heard it, I fell in love with it. So thank you for putting it out. I've really been having that on repeat for the past.
Awesome, man! Thank you
few
so much.
weeks
I
now.
appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.